Welcome aboard. Welcome to today's tour. We are at Hanel Field Airport in Oregon. It's a small airfield that barely passes for an airport, but it has the airport code 0OR9. We are about 3 miles northeast of Mount Hood in Oregon, and that's because today we're talking about and flying over the Timberline Lodge. For those familiar, this is the iconic lodge that's known as the Overlook Hotel from Stanley Kubrick's 1980 psychological horror film, The Shining. This location was suggested by a friend of Dude Tours, Dare Old Dad. And not only did he suggest this site, but he's also joining us today. That's right, he will be flying with us and leading us all the way to Mount Hood in the Overlook Hotel. So let's get these planes started and in the air, and we'll talk about the hotel and the movie, The Shining. First, a quick look around the small field here. Again, it's called Hanel Field. It's a single runway, 1,900 feet. It's tucked here up on top of this small wooded hilltop, so of course wish me luck when we come back and I have to get the plane back down on this one. The elevation is about 1,600 feet. It's privately owned and it's been in operation since 1947. If you're new here, welcome. What I do is I find interesting places to visit and talk about, and then we fly to them here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are off the ground, we are airborne, and now we need to make our way southwest from here. You can see in the distance, you can see Mount Hood. Mount Hood is a stratovolcano here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's about 50 miles or 80 kilometers southeast of Portland. The elevation of the mountain is 11,249 feet or 3,429 meters. The Timberline Lodge was an outdoor scene shooting location for the 1980 iconic horror film The Shining. The film was an adaptation of Stephen King's 1977 novel of the same name. And this lodge stood in for the Overlook Hotel, a secluded hotel located in the Rocky Mountains in the story. The Stanley Hotel in Colorado was actually Stephen King's inspiration for the hotel in the novel. And maybe a separate tour in the future we'll go to the Stanley Hotel. But today, it's the Timberline Lodge, or should I say, the Overlook, that we are going to fly over. The lodge was built between 1936 and 1938 during the Great Depression by what was known as the Works Progress Administration that undertook a whole host of public works projects as part of the New Deal. It's a National Historic Site, and it's at the elevation of 5,960 feet, or 1,817 meters. It's located here in the Mount Hood National Forest and is accessed by traveling Highway 26, which is also known as the Mount Hood Scenic Byway. The lodge is a 4-story, 40,000-foot mountain lodge with an exterior constructed with heavy rubble masonry consisting of large boulders and heavy timbers. The location was used by Stanley Kubrick for his movie The Shining. Almost all the interior shots were filmed at the Elstree Studios in England, but the outdoor scenes were filmed here at the Timberline. The hotel also does not have a hedge maze, as shown in the movie. Neither did the Stanley Hotel that inspired Stephen King. For the film, that maze was constructed at the MGM Borehamwood Studio, which is also known as MGM British from what I read. In 2015, oddly enough, the Stanley Hotel actually paid homage to the film and its fans by building and opening an actual maze at the hotel. The movie was released in 1980, again directed and screenplay was by Stanley Kubrick. The original novel was by Stephen King. The cast included Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, Scatman Crothers, Barry Nelson, Philip Stone, Joe Turkel, Ann Jackson, and Tony Burton. And for those that are unfamiliar with the story of The Shining, the plot basically is aspiring author Jack Torrance arrives here at the remote Overlook Hotel in the Rocky Mountains to be interviewed for a position of winter caretaker. The hotel, which opened in 1909 and was built on the site of Native American burial grounds, closes during the snowed-in months, and he's applying to be the caretaker over the winter. Jack plans to use that time alone to write a book. When he first arrives, the manager, Stuart Ellman, warns Jack about the hotel's reputation. A previous caretaker, Charles Grady, had killed his entire family and himself while being the caretaker there. And regardless of this fact, Jack takes the job. Jack and his wife Wendy and their son Danny, who had a premonition about moving to the hotel and didn't want to go, all move into the hotel for the winter months. In regards to the term shining, when the family first arrives at the hotel, the head chef, Dick Halloran, surprises Danny by telepathically offering him ice cream. Halloran then explains to Danny that he and his grandmother shared this telepathic ability, which he calls shining. Halloran tells Danny that the hotel also shines and has its own memories. He also tells Danny to stay away from room 237. And Danny tells him that Tony doesn't want him to discuss such things. He asks him, "Who is Tony?" "Oh, a little boy who lives in my mouth," he says. The hotel is closed up and Jack and his family are left to live and care for the Overlook. As time passes, Jack's writing goes nowhere. Danny and Wendy explore the hotel, including its hedge maze. Jack slowly becomes prone to violent outbursts as his mental health starts to deteriorate. But a routine sets in where Jack sits at his typewriter in the Great Hall, pounding away relentlessly at his typewriter, while Wendy and Danny put together some version of everyday life that includes breakfast cereal, toys, and a lot of TV. We are at the location here. We're just going to make our way around Mount Hood, and we should find the lodge. We made it here thanks to dear old Dad. Be sure to check out his Twitch channel and catch him in one of his live flights. He flies all kinds of aircraft. I will put a link to his Twitch channel below. And we're going to make a few passes over the lodge. What a great remote site. This really set the tone for the isolated Overlook Hotel in the story The Shining. Danny continues to talk to his imaginary friend Tony, who speaks in this lower voice than Danny does. That's not too creepy, right? And he talks to him while his finger wiggles. Over time, Jack begins to lose his mind. We know this when he starts chatting with a bartender named Lloyd, who is clearly either a ghost or a figment of Jack's imagination. Jack falls deeper into the world of ghosts and even meets the spirit of Delbert Grady, the former caretaker who murdered his family with an axe. Grady tells Jack that he needs to do the same thing with his family, and Jack plunges into what would describe as madness. Well, no additional spoilers here today, folks. If you don't know the story, you really should watch the film. It's a true classic. But today's tour is the hotel from the movie. Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of the novel, which, by the way, the author Stephen King was not a fan of, was amazing in both a cinematic and a complexity standpoint. Like most of Kubrick's films, The Shining has been praised for its photography and its production. And though the story is also widely acclaimed, in the story there's a lot of inconsistencies and lots of symbolism that have fed the imagination of fans for years. And as a result, there are numerous theories surrounding the meaning or what the story is really about in The Shining. Some focused on what's seen on the screen and others on what Kubrick's intended meaning was. Just a few of the most prominent theories are that The Shining is about the Apollo 11 moon landing. This one is that the movie's about Kubrick's way to accept his involvement or admit his involvement in the staging of the Apollo 11 moon landings. Among the many conspiracy theories surrounding the moon landing, one of them is that Kubrick was hired by the government to help them fake the whole thing. The Shining was Kubrick's big confession, where he adds different clues about the moon landing, such as Danny's sweater with a rocket and Apollo 11 on it, or shots of cans of Tang, which was a drink originally developed for astronauts to drink, and that room 217 from the original novel was changed to 237. Supporters of the theory believe that that's the distance to the moon, which at the time of the Apollo 11 program was believed to be 237,000 miles, although it actually has turned out that it's further to the moon than that. Another theory is that The Shining is about the genocide of Native Americans. Stuart Elman originally tells Jack that the Overlook Hotel was built on an Indian burial ground. And The Shining is about the genocide of Native Americans, and the hotel is full of Native American imagery, such as rugs and the many paintings on the walls. And in addition to that, the famous elevator scene, which is not in the book, where large amounts of blood pour from the elevator shaft, is said to symbolize the blood shed by all Native Americans that had been murdered. Another prominent theory is that The Shining is really all about the CIA's mind control experiments. This theory is all about a poster in the playroom at the Overlook Hotel when Danny is playing darts in the room and he turns around to find the Grady twins standing in the entrance. On the wall behind them is a skiing poster that says Monarch, which to some people makes no sense because Ullman claimed that there was no skiing in the area. And Monarch, according to the theory, was the code name for a CIA program, MK Ultra, in the 1950s and early 1960s, which consisted of experiments on human subjects with the intention of identifying and developing drugs and procedures to be used in interrogations. The caretaker job was just a front so that the government could test mind control techniques on isolated subjects, and everything that they went through was nothing more than hallucinations as part of this project. Another theory is that the film is a mirror. Mirrors play a prominent role in the film. Danny's first vision occurs in front of a mirror. Jack recognizes that the woman he's kissing is really a corpse by looking into a mirror. Danny writes red rum on a door that can only be read correctly when in the mirror. Murder. The Grady girls are mirror images of each other, and in the film the opening scenes are shot over a reflective lake mirroring the scenery above. So perhaps the Overlook Hotel itself is a mirror, in that it only tortures the guests with the evil that they bring with them. That would explain why Jack, potentially, an abusive alcoholic, was corrupted by the hotel, while Danny and Wendy were not. Or maybe the movie is the real mirror, and all of these fan theories just say more about the fans than it does about the film's meaning. And there are plenty more other theories that it's about sexual abuse or the Holocaust, or even that the hotel is simply hell. The movie keeps you guessing right up until the end, with the final shot being an unexplained black and white photograph of Jack standing in front of a crowd in the Overlook Hotel ballroom, dated July 4th, 1921. What does that mean? I don't know. Overthinking this movie makes my head hurt, but what do you think? That was the Timberline Lodge, also known as the Overlook Hotel. Brief discussion of the film and some of the theories that surround its meaning. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts and theories are as far as what does the movie really mean. Let's make our way back to the airport, and as scary as this film is, now comes the real scary part, and that is my landing. Let's get both these airplanes on the ground. We will make our way back to that small hilltop airfield, and then we can discuss some upcoming tours. It looks like dear old Dad has made a landing. Now it is our turn.
Come on, you. Oh, come on, Dad. Jesus. Come on.
Well, why should he?
Die. Axe murder, kill.
Well, you just say that when you're ready.
We are on the ground. Let's park these airplanes and shut them down. We should now plan to do a tour of the Stanley Hotel that inspired Stephen King to write the original novel. Maybe as well as the Glacier National Park, where they filmed the opening scenes to the movie. So check back for these tours and others. And don't forget to stop by Dear Old Dad's channel and say thanks for today's tour idea.